minutes, but we could be going to 8 hours. Hi, welcome. This is the CaddyInfo.com Cadillac Chat. We do these on Wednesday nights during this time period. A lot of times we were doing them on Thursday nights before. But welcome. You've found us at the right place and the right time. We're a couple of minutes late getting started. I have with me tonight Texas Jim from the forums.
Good evening, everybody.
Or Platinum Jim, as I like to call him. He still hasn't changed his title on the forums, but got his new Platinum DTS that he'd been shopping for. We have Vinny with us from CadillacCountryClub.com or CaddyChat.com.
Howdy, how you doing?
Always glad to have another Cadillac fan online to chat about our favorite car. We're missing our friend Cadillac Jim. Hopefully he'll be able to join us. We may see some of our other friends pop in. I have about 12 people that are on my invite list now. Of course, Kevin joins us sometimes, KHE from the forums, and so hopefully he'll see that we're on. And if you want to participate, if you're watching this and you know us from the forums or you love Cadillacs and you want to come on and chat with us about them, then contact me via Google Plus, and what that lets me do is I can invite you. If you have questions about how to get your video set up or your audio set up, then I would be happy to work with you. Texas Jim would be happy to work with you. It's really easy to do, and it doesn't cost much money. He uses a gadget built into his laptop. I think Vinny's doing the same thing with his MacBook tonight, using the camera built into the MacBook, and that works great and is less filling. We do have Q&A up. Another way for you to participate is you can post questions, and I'll have our August panel try to address your questions. This week, guys, we got what purported to be an unfiltered, uncamouflaged look at the ATS-V rolling into the auto show. To me, it just, I don't know if you guys looked at the pics. To me, it just looked like an ATS, with a little fringe on top.
I saw the hood. It looked a little, looks like it had two little vents up in the hood scoop.
Yeah, I liked that they've got a cooling unit right there sticking out of the hood, and it looks like it's it doesn't look like a boy racer, so it looks like it's nicely done and so on, and hopefully that's is the interface to the intercooler, kind of like they've done on some of the Subaru models, where then if the rain hits it, you don't have to worry about water getting in, because that's the cooler for the intercooler, if you see what I mean, not a direct link to under the hood. But all in all, I mean, and I guess this is kind of what we should have expected, and this was an ATS-V coupe, but basically it's got big grill openings. It does have this opening in the hood. It has a small power bump, not very much power bump, and some molding along the sides, right, to make it look more sporty or to help the aerodynamics. Now, where do you think we'll see the price come out for the ATS-V?
$20,000.
Oh.
Yeah, I would write a check the first day if they said $20,000. I would be the first one in line at my local dealer for $20,000.
Yeah, after we wrestle for that first place spot.
Yeah, I think I'd order 3 and then plan to sell 2 of them as soon as the prices went back up to whatever they're supposed to be.
I'm guessing the base price on it will be 50 plus.
Let's say, for argument's sake, that they're expecting the CTS-V price is going to go up from the previous. So the previous CTS-V was what, 70 to 82,000, right?
Yep.
But that was with the old, cheaper, less expensive CTS. So if now the new CTS-V is going to be in the 85 to 95 range, then it could be that we'll see the ATS-V come right in at 75.
That's very possible.
And then an ATS-V premium at 85.
Yep.
Because Cadillac's pretty excited about holding high prices. I mean, what the head of Cadillac has said is margins are more important than quantity. And so I think we could see the ATS-V come in at 75 to replace the previous CTSV.
Yeah, I was thinking about 70, so 75 sounds about right.
And then that won't be the ATSV premium. If you want the ATSV premium, it'll be a $10,000 adder,
Right.
which is what they've done with the V Sport. If you want the regular V Sport, that's fine. You get the turbo engine, but if you want the V Sport premium, it's a $10,000 adder.
So the regular ATS, let's go for a second,
Yeah.
right? Say they raise that up to 40,000 for base, right?
For the standard.
For the
So
standard.
it's almost 40,000 now. It's in the mid 30s for the
Right.
2.5 liter 4.
So
no
now you're
turbo.
talking to the ATS-V coupe at almost 80,000.
Yes.
You're talking almost double the price of a regular ATS.
Yes. And I think that's wrong, but Cadillac thinks that's correct. So we're going to have this decade-long debate to see who's right.
I don't think there's going to be a right
answer. Fundamentally
answer.
wrong. I think no model should have more than a $15,000 span. No model should have more than a $15,000 span. So if you want to start the ATS at 35, a fully loaded, full Zoot ATS-V should be 50.
It should be, but it won't be.
Now, what do you think the ATS-V cost them to make versus a ATS 2-liter turbo?
Okay, does it have the magnetic suspension and all that?
The premium 2-liter turbo has a magnetic suspension. The ATS-V,
Okay, so
we don't know yet, but let's assume it has the 2-liter turbo. So
obviously the V model will have the magnetic suspension.
Yep.
It'll probably have bigger brakes, bigger wheels and tires. Of course, the engine and transmission will be different. Hopefully a stronger rear end, different rear end.
They haven't had any trouble with the rear end, but that said, the ATS was designed to have only as much of anything as it needed. Every gram had to earn its way onto the car.
Exactly.
So the transmission is lighter. Everything about it is just what's needed,
right.
Which is good and bad.
Right.
Good for economy is bad for.
So it probably cost them 10,000 more above the lower model that has the magnetic suspension, because it's the same suspension. Might be calibrated different, but that's just programming a computer.
Yeah,
don't have anything
the same
to
parts
do with components. So it's all the same parts, same body parts, same suspension parts. The only difference would be calibration and your engine and transmission. So I don't see where it would cost them much over 10 grand. Above the other model.
Yeah, and a 2-liter turbo premium starts at 46.
So that one should be no more than 60 max.
Now the 3.6 liter premium, the 3.6 liter premium starts at 48. So yeah, that would say you should bring the ATS-V in at 58.
Right.
Now let's look at where's the M3 start?
That I don't know.
Now the lesser 3 series starts in the low 30s, right? But the M3, I was trying to rapidly switch over to the BMW site, but it's not working. Build your own null. That can't be right. Okay, the BMW M3 is 62,000, so same answer, right? That if you're saying the ATS-V lines up with the BMW M3, then it should be at 62, not 75.
Right.
Now the base MRSP is 62. This particular one that they're recommending has the blue metallic paint and the merino leather interior, and ends up bringing up at if you want the double clutch transmission, then it ends up bringing up at 67. But if you don't choose those options, it starts at 62. So do you think we'll be able to get an ATS-V out the door for 62?
No,
No way.
because of the way they think they're adding value to it just by increasing the price. But
Right.
you're not adding value by increasing the price.
So if an ATS premium is 48, I still like our argument though that uh, 10,000 adder for the ATS-V over an ATS premium because the premium's already got everything basically except that powertrain. It's already got the Brembo brakes. It's already got, enhanced cooling everywhere. It's not going to have the new engine, and it's not going to have the better the engine and the 8-speed transmission. One of the places where the ATS lacks is it got the 6-speed transmission instead of the 8-speed transmission.
Right.
And one of the things the new V would get is the 8-speed transmission. But I'm not willing to accept that the 8-speed transmission has that much of a different price tag than the 6-speed. It has a different performance set, and came at a different time, but I bet their price is not that different. What do you think?
Be a few $100s maybe.
Same thing though. That's not a driving reason to have it cost $20,000 more.
No. Maybe be generous and say $1,000 more for the 8-speed.
Now let me put my heartless marketer hat on. If I told you you could sell 1,000 ATS-Vs next year at $60,000, or you could sell 1,000 ATS-Vs next year at $75,000, which one would you prefer?
Well, then I would take 75.
Yeah, and that may be their viewpoint, right?
Assuming you're correct that I could sell 1,000 at 75,
yeah,
and that I would only sell 1,000 at 60.
Now, this is the same heartless marketer that ended up with 3 years worth of inventory of, I'm exaggerating, but ended up with more than a year's worth of inventory of ATSs sitting on the curb right now, right?
Right.
Because they priced them where they priced them instead of pricing them competitively as an entry-level car. They forgot the ATS is an entry-level car.
Yeah.
What part of that was confusing? This is your entry-level car that you're trying to get people in the door and teach them the Cadillac lifestyle. You get them to buy an ATS so that 10 years from now they want to buy a CTS, and you price it beyond their means.
Excuse me, that's not a CTS that they'll be buying in 10 years. It'll be a CT6.
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 A CT 5.7. A CT something. An SR Thor. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Good catch.
I caught you. 10 years. That's funny.
At the dealer meeting this week, Cadillac also showed an ATS convertible. What do you no, they showed some convertible. We don't know what convertible. I'm reading into it that they said an ATS convertible because, bless you, Cadillac has said in the past that the CTS won't be getting all the special models anymore. The ATS will. So there won't be a CTS Coupe, CTS Station Wagon, CTS Sedan. If you see special models, it'll be on the ATS platform. And with the ATS Coupe coming out, now they have a great platform because you want a two-door for the convertible for structural reasons. So now they have a great platform to come out with an ATS convertible. Again, what do you think is the market for that?
Depending on the price. Again, it's going to depend on the price.
$65,000.
65?
Well, they didn't say. We don't know. But let's say the ATS premium, 3.6 liter premium, we said is 48.
Okay.
Without the
add 10 for the convertible.
Add 10 for convertible.
10 for the convertible, and you'll be around 60.
Yes, sir.
That might actually sell a few.
Now, how many would you have to sell for that for you to consider it to be successful?
Oh, Lord.
Selling 2,000 ATSs a month, or 2,500 ATSs a month. How many convertibles would you have to sell in order to say I was glad I did that?
How many XLRs were they selling at the end? 400, 500, I think it was.
Yeah, so 700, 800 during its run, and when they were just clearing out the last ones, not even trying anymore, then yeah, they only moved a couple hundred of them.
But you're talking a big difference in price too.
Well, and I love their attitude when the guy said, when they came out with the station wagon. I still love that quote, and I think it bears repeating. They came out with the station wagon. The magazine guy said, "I love this. I'm glad you did this, but you know you only sell a couple hundred of them, right? I mean, there's no way that you'll sell more than a couple hundred of these." And the Cadillac guy said, "Oh, that would be great. We were afraid we'd only sell a couple of them." And so if we sell a couple hundred of them, that would be terrific.
But I have been to numerous dealers in the last several years, and they don't even have a station wagon in stock. This was when they were still in production, and
Yes.
they didn't even have any. Well, how in the blankety blank are you going to sell anything if you
Yes.
don't have it?
I know, but dealers are conservative by nature, most by and large, right? They got all their money in the dealership and so on, and they got to pay for inventory. And so if they don't have people coming in asking for the car, they're not going to stock it. Same thing with the ELR. Cadillac thought we're going to run a ton of these ELRs, but they put roadblocks where the dealer had to have special equipment, the dealer had to have special training, and the dealers didn't want it.
Exactly.
And
So
the
that
price.
impacts how many you can sell. And well, you know, we've talked about this before, and the consumers didn't want it because it was priced $20,000 higher than it should have been. It should have come in at 55, and they brought it in at 75, which is the same darn thing they're going to do with the ATS-V. I bet you
I bet they do too.
that it's not going to be
But
competitive
say
with the M3. They're not
they,
selling as many ATSs as BMW sells M3s. They're selling a third or a fourth, depending on which month it is. And so if you really want to establish a market versus BMW, what you have to do is give a price premium when you're starting out until you can command a price delta. And so if you want to compete with the M3 heads up right now, come in $10,000 less expensive. So
yeah,
bring me the
yeah,
ATS-V at 52.
and get established, get some of them on the road, get people talking to their friends about them.
In the BMW forums. The BMW forums will be full of ATS-V stories anyway when
Oh
it
yeah,
first starts out. And what they'll conclude is, well, yeah, it's a lot of good hardware, but it doesn't really play together well, and it's not a BMW. When really the ATS is probably closer to the last generation of BMW than it is to anything else than the current BMW is. Because what Cadillac did is they said, we want to have, you know, that generation of BMW, and so it matches it dimensionally, the weight, the only thing they didn't get was they didn't get the 8-speed transmission because it wasn't ready in time. And that's the only thing that the ATS is missing right now, is they're missing that transmission. And with the ATS-V, we'll get that fixed. And I imagine the next pass on the ATS will see the 8-speed or 9-speed transmission in it. And you'd think, well, how much difference would that make? But it makes a difference in, you know, how you look in the shower, right? It makes a difference in automotive tests. Bless you. Okay, so Mary Barra also rumored, and we got a whole article from GM about the Voltec version 2. So did you guys see this?
negative.
So
No.
the second generation Voltec, they're moving to the 1.5 liter power plant instead of the 1.4 liter. So this is the remix that they've done with the latest technologies on the 1.5 liter. So it would be direct injection and you know, every gadget that they can put on it. And they had a nice video about the Voltec powertrain. Basically, they've made the battery pack. It's still a T-shaped battery pack. When you take that cover off, it's interesting because it's actually four different modules underneath the T. There's two in the back of the T and two along the run of the T. And then so the battery pack itself is 30 pounds lighter, has fewer individual cells, and has more power, more kilowatts.
Good.
But what I'm afraid, I love Cadillac commercials, and I am a big Cadillac supporter, and I don't want to sound like Debbie Downer on everything they're doing, right? But what I'm afraid is that's not enough difference. The guys you're competing with are going 80 miles on a charge, or 120 miles, or 200 miles on a charge, right? So if you want to talk about have a range extender, go 200 miles on battery, and then kick in the gas engine. Don't come tell me you got a cool setup, but you can only go 36 miles. But now with the cool, better battery, it weighs
You can
30
go
pounds
40.
less, and you can go 40 miles. That's not
Yeah.
that's not enough. That's not good enough.
No, no. That's just it's almost insignificant. If you
And it
punched
would
it
it
a
would be
couple of
incremental
times,
if the other guys weren't already doing the better, right? But as long as the other guys are doing the better, that's not enough improvement.
no, nowhere close. And I still see when I watch commercials, I skip most of them when I watch TV. But I do try to watch, and when I see a Cadillac commercial, I'll back it up and watch it. Now, the one I've been noticing lately is that red ATS. Where this guy's walking down the street and he thinks
Right.
all the girls were looking at
Looking at
him and
him.
they're really looking at the ATS.
How does that strike you?
It's the only time I
Uh,
see an ATS in New York City.
well, they do show it at some good angles. They do make it
Yes.
look good, but it's it's
Doesn't
it's
tell you
it's
very much
pretty
about the car,
good.
does it? Other than,
But
hey,
it, but it
it's a cute car.
but all it says is, hey, that's a good looking car.
Right.
That's
So
all the
where's the
whole.
details? Why would I buy an ATS? Where's the persuasive? It weighs less than any car in its class. Hey, Kevin, how are you? Welcome.
Okay, I'm good.
Excellent. Thanks for joining the conversation. And joining us from the CaddyInfo.com forums, KHE, the air conditioning expert. Call in with your air conditioning and classic Cadillac questions, and Mr. Fleetwood.
We're not going to need any air conditioning advice, I wouldn't think, this time of year.
Get your car ready for summer now.
It was almost 80 degrees here, Kevin.
Yeah, I can
Supposed
imagine it. It was, it
supposed to
was
be
about
80. Supposed to be
48
80
here
again
today.
tomorrow.
It's about 48 here today.
Okay, Kevin, what's your prediction for the ATS-V pricing?
Um, I haven't been found ESV. It's going to be overpriced.
Let me frame it for you. A ATS premium is 48,000. That's without the extra options above premium, mind you, but just an ATS premium sedan, a 2014 ATS premium sedan. If you do build your own, and that's the starting without the delivery and everything. And so that's what I'm asking is build your own, a 3.6 liter rear wheel drive premium ATS, not V, ATS sedan, is 48,000. So I'm asking you the ATS V price. What's your prediction?
Probably high 50s.
Okay, so I'm going to write that down at 57.5.
56, 57, somewhere in there, I'd say.
56.5. And Vinny, what's your prediction?
65.
65 even. And Jim, what's your prediction?
Closer to 70.
Jim's going to say 70.
Is there a prize for this?
Oh yeah, we're going to have a price for this. What do you think's the right price? And we didn't get a vote from Cadillac Jim. I'll write his thing in case he wants to vote yet. And I'll open this up to guys on the forum. Guys on the forum or anyone else, if you want to post in the forum what your prediction is. We don't know what the price of the ATS-V will be. We haven't seen any pre-release, any information about that. What'll happen is they'll announce it at the show. We'll get all the info. We won't get the price. A week later, we'll get the price, and so then that's when we'll know who won. But what I'm
Now,
doing is I'm
the
writing down
answer,
everybody's guesses. I don't have a Cadillac,
the,
Jim, but we'll
the
think
answer,
about what we want the price to be. Right
the
now, the
answer
prize
that,
would be a cool flashlight for your car, because I can get that at the store.
Mhm.
Well, the price would be a cool flashlight. It's a dual light which has a floodlight on the side of it that makes it easy to use in the car, or a spotlight, and fits right in the glove box in your car in a
Cool.
nice, attractive black. Uh,
Now, the price you're asking us tonight, that's the
yes, sir.
price we think it's going to be, or is that the price that it should be?
The price that you think that they will come out. What we're going to do is whoever's the closest, besides me, whoever's the closest, if I get it correct, I'll be able to make sure you guys understood I got it right. But whoever's the closest to the actual price as it's released. Now they'll actually say two prices when it comes out. I imagine there will be an ATS-V price and an ATS-V premium price. So what I'm asking you is the ATS-V price, not the ATS-V premium price. Does that make sense?
So the ATS premium is 48.
The ATS 3.6 liter premium is 48.
48.
I think we all might have been underbid.
Yeah. Put mine at 68.
Okay, you want to change from 70 to 68.
Nah, heck, leave it at 70 because they're going to overprice it. I just
Okay,
got a feeling.
KHE still at 56.5, or you want to change your answer?
That's fine.
Okay. Vinny, 65?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Okay, and again, if you want to participate at home or on the forum, what you have to do in order to participate is post on tonight's video thread what your prediction for the ATS-V price will be, and the winner will get a fabulous prize that perhaps will be a cool flashlight to put in your car, or perhaps will be something else of your choosing. If you're local,
Valuable
you can,
prizes.
what?
Valuable prizes.
Of
I
course.
talked over you again. Tell me again what you said.
Valuable prizes.
Valuable prizes. The winner will gain a valuable prize. I actually have, of course, I have all kinds of Cadillac hats, and I also have a model car that I got along the way, intending to give away as a prize of some sort on the forum, and never got around to. That is still has been on the shelf for 3 years, and so there you go. But it will be some valuable prize, most likely a valuable prize available from our regional uniform and supply uniform store here in beautiful Plano, Texas. So the car-related things there, we have a pocket knife and escape tool. We have pepper spray, which would be handy to have in your car. We have a friction baton, which would be handy to have in your car. We have, as I say, flashlights.
What is a friction baton?
A friction baton is a police baton that it's about this long, but then when you whip it out, it extends to 21 or 26 inches of steel baton that you could use to advise someone that they were not behaving properly.
I prefer 38.
Yeah. What you're hoping, kind of like the pump on a pump shotgun, what you're hoping is just the sound of the friction baton extending changes the conversation. Okay, and then I need to put everyone's. I'm going to put everyone's guesses in my amazing drawer of no one looks there, and then we'll add them to whatever other guesses we get. And if you guys think of some other great, fabulous prize that would be better suited, but I think I'll put up a whole story about what the slide is that I'm talking about, because they actually are cool and they would be nice to have in the car. Any other topics for tonight? We're 1 minute past our 30-minute time limit. But Kevin just got here. Kevin, what's going on in your Cadillac world?
Just about ready to put the Fleetwood away for winter. Saturday goes away.
So do you have a routine that you do for that?
Yeah, I take it up about 2 hours north where I live, in my dad's. We've got a big pole barn at where he lives up north, and he lets me store it there. And what I do is I change tomorrow night when I get home from work. Car will be hot, so I'm going to change the oil, get the oil ready, all clean. It's about 135 miles up there where I store it. So then I take it up there and then usually wash it, and then when I get it back in, I stop about 30 minutes away and I put stable in the fuel and fill the tank to mix it up, and then so the last half hour it gets a stable in the fuel, and then once it's there, then wash the car, dry it, and then I back it in there, and usually I pop the air cleaner off and spray that fogging oil a little bit in there, and then shut it down and disconnect the battery and put the cover over it and leave it until April.
And you've had good luck with that. You've done this a number of years, right?
Done it for, geez, going 15 or 16 years.
And then when you go to get it out of storage, it just starts right up, or?
Yeah, it usually. Well, I usually charge battery about in January. Sometimes put the battery charger on it, charge the battery, and in April when I get it out, of course this year the weather was so bad in the spring. I mean, we were still getting snow in April, so I didn't get it out till Memorial Weekend. But just hook the battery up, and usually it cranks a little bit longer than it normally does. Normally it just fires right up, but then it cranks a little bit longer, and it starts up, and there might be a lifter or two that's ticking, but after about 30 seconds it's all pumped up and then it drive away.
Yeah, it just needs a minute for everything to wake up.
Yeah.
Well,
But
good.
after that long, with the pressure on the rocker arms pushing the lifters down, one can easily need a few seconds to pump up and get ready.
And some years it doesn't even tick. You just get it and go.
Oh.
But
Well,
yeah, that's about it. I don't go through any really, I don't jack the thing up. And some people, you got to take the weight off. It's like, car will sit on the lot for 4 or 5 months and you never have a problem. I don't jack it up or anything like that. And that's about all I do with it.
So basically, make sure you've got clean oil, fresh coolant, and stable in the gas.
Yep, the stable, the coolant gets changed. I usually change that when when it's down at home. I drain it. That car's got block drains, so I can get everything out of it. And that's just every 4 years I change the coolant, even though it's the old green coolant. I'm only driving it half the year, so I let it go 4 years.
Right.
Oh. I do have to flush the heater core on that about every other year, because those cars, when they sit like that, the heater cores tend to get they tend to get cruddy. You don't get good heat out of it. Like if you boy, it's cold, so you climb it to 90, and at 90 degrees you shouldn't even be able to hold your hand in front of it down the outlet, but you can. So it's like, okay, you got to flush the heater core. Okay, do that. I never see anything come out of there, but afterwards I always have much better heat after I reverse flush the heater core.
Right.
Now, what do you drive while the Fleetwood's in the shop? No, in the storage?
Chevrolet Z71 pickup.
So you're missing an Escalade in your fleet.
Yeah, they were a little too spendy for me.
Yeah. Well, the first year of Escalade's probably quite reasonable now.
Yeah, the first year was just nothing more than a Chevy Tahoe with a Cadillac badge on it. Back in the late
inexpensive
90s.
To maintain.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I looked at some of those on the used market, those Escalades, and they are those in Suburban are some of the most beat up vehicles that I have ever looked at. It's like, people buy them, I think, and they just let their kids eat, spill everything in them. They're just trash. I watched a guy at Home Depot about a year ago. He had what looked like a pretty new Escalade. He was just jamming drywall sheets in there, just beating that thing. And I'm like, it's a $70,000 vehicle, and he was just, I don't know, he's just
He's using it as a
destroying
work
that.
truck. That's what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, well, it costs too much for that.
So Cadillac says they're going to compete. I know we gotta wrap up, but one more topic. Cadillac says they're going to compete head on with Tesla. So what do they need to do in order to do that?
Head on with what?
Tesla. Cadillac's going to be GM's answer to Tesla.
Well, they need to look at the spec sheet on the Tesla and look at the range and look at the performance.
They
And,
need to come out with a vehicle that competes with Tesla.
before anybody that even says that and then brings out the new
Vault Plus .0.
yeah, and brings out the revised version of ELR and then turn around and say they're going to compete with Tesla, somebody needs to just backhand him real good and say, are you asleep, or you on drugs, or
Yeah.
you must be smoking some really, really good stuff.
The difference between reality and marketing. Yeah. What do you think, Kevin? What does Cadillac need to do in order to compete heads up with Tesla?
I don't really follow Tesla, so I'm not really the guy to answer that. It's just, I don't know. They got to benchmark it, like everybody's saying, see what's there, and then they need to exceed it.
Vinny, you got to have that New York insight. What do they got to do?
How many cars is Tesla selling?
Several thousand. I think they're in the 5,000 to 6,000 range.
Okay.
So Cadillac outsells Tesla. Okay. So it's that part where they were excited that the new guys from Audi, and so maybe be able to use all his experience at Audi in order to rescue Cadillac, right? But they didn't point out Cadillac outsells Audi.
Right.
So how's that going to work?
Right.
Nobody brings up these other topics, right?
Well, I had a guy at work was talking about the Chevy Volt, and he says, "Oh yeah, the Chevy Volt doesn't have an engine; it's just battery." And I turned around and looked at him and I said, "What the hell are you talking about?" I said, "Their Volt has an engine in it."
Yeah.
Yes.
He said, "Oh, it does." I said, "Yeah, go look on Chevrolet's website."
Now, did he own one, or he was just talking about it?
No, he's got a Toyota something or other, whatever that is. So naturally, he's like, "Oh, I wouldn't buy that. I wouldn't buy a G." Oh yeah, okay, you guys are all the same.
Yeah, my favorite statement on Toyota drivers is frequently I've chatted with them and they were talking about how reliable the Toyota is. Their particular model was in the shop at the moment, but it was so reliable that they would definitely get another one. And I was like, "But your car's in the shop, right?"
Yeah, I said, I said, they work on those things every day. I see them in the shop, so they break down too. And
so, any other remaining topics? Now we're 12 minutes over.
But they can't compete with Tesla unless they do a complete revamp of the ELR. Period.
Now the
CT6 drop the price by 30.
The CT6 is going to be a plug-in hybrid. So I think that's what they're aiming for, is if the CT6 is really the Voltec package with the 3-liter turbo, then that could be interesting. But we'll actually have to see once they get it out. I think that they're being way too coy and way too slow on product development. But we'll see when they get it out, and we're supposed to hear about it soon. The one that I don't understand is the ATS-V and the CTS-V should have been released 6 months, 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And so what are we waiting on with those guys?
They should have been released as 14 models.
Yeah.
Not
So I
60,
think and the conclusion we reached before was the transmission wasn't ready. That they're waiting for the GM version of the 8-speed transmission that just came out with the Corvette, and that they didn't get it in production soon enough. And so that transmission has been the holdup for the last couple of years. That they were supposed to have that transmission in the ATSs, and they didn't. They put the They were supposed to have it for the CTS, and they couldn't, so they bought the Lexus transmission to put in there, and now they're just coming out with it on the Corvettes, but they may not have enough production to put it into anything else yet, or they can't put it in this ATS until the next redesign because it it'll cost them 20 million or whatever to change the part number.
Is you saying they're buying transmissions from Lexus?
Yep. The 8-speed transmission in the CTS is an ASIN transmission, which is a Lexus company. The transmission company for Lexus. That's the only way they could get the 8-speed transmission in time for the CTS.
I hope that they're not going down the same road they did back in the 80s and refused to listen to the customers and refused to listen to their advisors, and they just go off on 73 different tangents and come out with a bunch of stuff that nobody wants.
No. Cadillac says they're listening to their customers because their customers aren't buying as many Cadillacs, and they're saying we didn't want those customers. Those aren't the right customers because the right customers will buy our products. So we're not concerned about those customers. We're looking for the customers with deeper pockets.
Yeah, I think
that's such a bizarre response to me still, because
that's
what
I mean.
customers they're looking for? Every customer.
I've drove Cadillacs. I bought my first new Cadillac in 1980. That's 34 years of driving Cadillacs, and I'm not the kind of customer they want.
Well, but
you and I are in the same boat. They don't want people like me either.
Let me make it even more clear. Cadillac sells cars from just above 30,000 to mid 90,000s for the Escalade Premium, right? Just above 30,000 to mid 90,000s. So you know what customers you're trying for? Every one of those customers in between 30,000 and 90,000. That's what they should be trying for. And so for them to say, we're not concerned if people aren't buying our cars because we're going to get the people with deeper pockets. If you can't sell you got to sell to everybody. You never turn away. Your product line is aimed at everybody. Everybody from entry-level luxury up. And
they purposely brought the price level down with the ATS.
Yeah, that was the whole point, right? Was to compete with that 3 Series. So,
I'm not sure if I had deeper pockets that I would even be looking at Cadillac, because to most people, your great old big long Mercedes, if you've got deeper pockets and can afford a $100,000 Cadillac, you can afford a $100,000 Mercedes.
Well, that's what they're trying to change with the CT6 and CT8 or 9 when it gets here, is so that if you were going to go shop for a $150,000 car, you go to the Cadillac dealer. That's their goal. But I'm saying that's fine. If you want to market to those guys, fine. You're welcome to. But in the meantime, go figure out how to sell 9,000 ATSs a month, and then that pays for the CTS8 and the CTS9.
Exactly.
Afford to do that is do what BMW is doing, sell 9,000 3 Series, and then you can sell 39 7 Series and brag about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're paid for by all those 3 Series you're pumping out to, people that got their first job and a mortgage they can't afford and a car they can't afford.
Mercedes they have a relatively inexpensive model compared to their top line models.
Yeah. Mercedes is underpricing the ATS with their CLA model because it's 29 something out the door, 29 something on the bulletin board. It's more than that out the door.
But I doubt if they sell very many of that base model.
Oh, no, it's selling pretty well. Because people want a $30,000 Mercedes, just like people would have loved to have. That was what they did with the CTS when it came out, was you could get a CTS out the door for $29,900.
Yeah, and they sold good.
And they sold well because that's what people need. People want the most expensive Cadillac they can buy. There's a market for that, just like the people that bought my car off the dealer bought 2 of them. And that was the most expensive car they could buy at the minute, and so they went in and ordered twin cars, his and hers. Yeah. And so there are people that want Cadillac to have expensive products. I get that, but the way you pay for those cool expensive products is you sell a ton of your entry-level products. And right now, the
Exactly.
entry-level product's not moving, so you don't just say, I'm not worried because I'm waiting for people with deeper pockets. You got to
That
go make changes and get your product to move.
that just doesn't make sense to me at all.
I don't know. And I don't know if he's just saying that because he doesn't have any options. He's painting himself into a corner, so if you can't fix it, feature it.
I don't understand why they would do that though. It's
Yeah,
alienate your fan bases like crazy. If they
yeah.
want to market to the higher, let them build the El Mirage and price it at 120,000 and market that till the cows
And
come
I'd
home.
be happy to go in there and look at it and then buy an ATS, right?
Or
That's the whole
yeah,
point of the Halo cars is you don't sell them. They bring people into your showroom because, look, I can get an ATS for $35,000 and it has the same fender line as the $125,000 one El Mirage does.
it's your
Yeah.
in-store commercial.
Exactly,
Yep.
it's your in-store commercial. Okay, any last words, Vinny?
I'm doing something cool this weekend. I'm going down to New Jersey to a car show,
Fun?
and it's all 1950s and 60s, and apparently all of these cars are laying out in a lot. It's miles and miles of cars that are just rotting away, and they've been rotting away for like 20 years. And the guy
Take
refuses.
pictures.
Yeah, I'm going to be taking tons of pictures. It's called the
Take your checkbook.
It's called the Pumpkin Run. If you Google Pumpkin Run New Jersey, you'll see pictures from last year. They were absolutely amazing.
Okay.
So
So
I'll be
it's like
sharing.
it's like a junkyard then. All these cars are just rusting away.
Pretty much, yeah. And they have once a year car show, and there's like thousands and thousands of cars that show up. Everybody that went to it last year up by me is raving that I got to go with my camera. So that's where I'll be this Saturday if the weather cooperates. If not, it'll be next weekend. So Pumpkin Run, New
Okay.
Jersey.
Kevin, any last words or advice for our viewers?
No, not for me.
Thanks for joining. I'm sorry we
Okay.
weren't on much after you joined.
No, that's right. I was in the middle of something else when I heard the thing ring, and I said, "Well, I'll just see what I can join it, partway through." And I forgot you guys only went for a half hour now.
Well, at this point, you got your entire 30 minutes worth, so I feel like you
I'm
got
not
your
worried
money's
about
worth
that.
for this week's episode. Jim,
I'm just
any advice for our viewers?
who, Kevin, or
Jim?
buy Cadillacs. Get them while you can afford them. Won't be long till you can't.
That's great.
The new slogan.
There you go. I'm going to hit stop broadcast. Hold on a second, guys.